हेलो मेरे प्यारे दोस्तों। आज हम रीडिंग इंडियन फिक्शन इन इंग्लिश, दैट इज योर VAC एग्जाम फॉर योर दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी. It is of 2 credits, just half your DSC paper. But why is it important? क्योंकि ये तुम्हारी CGPA बहुत ऊपर ले जा भी सकती है और नीचे भी गिरा सकती है. इट्स लेक्चर 1, लेक्चर का 1 क्रेडिट है एंड प्रैक्टिकल का 1 क्रेडिट है. ओके, सो दीज आर द रिक्वायरमेंट. Okay, so the learning objective. Why are we actually studying this paper? It is to deepen a student's understanding and appreciate the Indian fiction written in obviously English language. We often, it's so fast paced. हम सब जॉब के पीछे भाग रहे हैं कि हम लाइफ की लिटरेचर और फिक्शंस को, फिक्शन इज बेसिकली इमेजिनेशन, उसको पढ़ना भूल ही गए हैं. सो हियर इज अ टाइम टू जस्ट पॉज योर सेल्फ, absorb in this particular VAC as we go through it, the 3 units of it. So let's begin. How to read a novel. The first topic of this VAC, reading a novel, it involves engaging with its narrative structure, the themes of it, the characters, the socio-cultural context in which it is written. कोई भी हम स्टोरी पढ़ते हैं, उसका नरेटिव स्ट्रक्चर एपिक है, पोएट्री है, किस फॉर्म में लिखी गई है, राइट. नॉवल का स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, फर्स्ट पर्सन में है, सेकंड पर्सन में है, थीम क्या है, हॉरर है, साइंटिफिक फिक्शन है, क्या है, कैरेक्टर्स कौन कौन है, कितने कैरेक्टर्स हैं, कौन कैरेक्टर्स हैं, और किस कंटेक्स्ट में लिखी गई है, कि वो 19th century की है, अभी की है, कब की है नॉवल. To fully appreciate a novel, one must go beyond the surface story and one must delve into its deeper meanings and the artistic techniques. This section elaborates on how to approach a novel systematically. Okay, so the first point is understanding the structure of novel. It typically consists of various components such as plot, setting, characters and themes. कोई भी हम novel पढ़ते हैं, उसका हम तो फॉर एंजॉयमेंट पढ़ते हैं. मोस्ट ऑफ अस इफ वी रीड, हम क्या मिस कर देते हैं, द प्लॉट, द कैरेक्टर्स एंड द थीम्स ऑफ इट, कि क्या सेटिंग है, गांव में सेट हुई है, किसी वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी में सेट है, लंदन में है, इंडिया में है, कहाँ सेट है, वो रूरल एरिया है, अर्बन एरिया है, कैरेक्टर्स का क्या रोल है, कैरेक्टर्स रूड है या बहुत विटी हैं, क्या है. ठीक है, ईच एलिमेंट, एवरी एलिमेंट influences the novel in conveying the story and its underlying messages. The plot is that we need to pay attention to the sequence of events and how the story unfolds. Novels often follow a narrative arc, the introduction, the rising action, climax, falling action and resolution. कि इन शुरू कहाँ से हो रही है नॉवल, rising action of it, the climax, the falling action and the resolution. This is like the technique, कि नॉवल कैसे शुरू हो रही है. पहले क्या होता है, हमें कोई भी कैरेक्टर के बारे में बताया जाता है, फिर हमें जैसे हमें एक कैरेक्टर आर के बारे में बताया जा रहा है, तो कि उस कैरेक्टर ने क्या क्या किया, क्या क्या लाइफ में फेस किया, अब क्लाइमैक्स में क्या चल रहा है, धीरे धीरे फॉलिंग एक्शन आता है, और then we head towards the resolution, that is the conclusion and the following paths, right. Now the setting is very important. The time, the place of the novel, they provide essential context. A historical novel, for instance, it reflects the political and social conditions of its era. Okay, if you have read Pride and Prejudice, that's a very famous novel, you'll get to know a lot about the political and social conditions of that era. The characters, we need to study the protagonist is the positive character of the story, okay, and antagonist is the villain, the negative character in the story, okay. Secondary are like कि जेस्चर बोलते हैं, जैसे शेक्सपियर की नॉवेल्स में होता है जेस्चर इज जोकर, कि हंसाने के लिए, कुछ कॉमेडी के लिए लिया है कोई. यू नीड टू एनालाइज द डेवलपमेंट, मोटिवेशंस एंड रिलेशनशिप्स, कि कैसे एक हीरो हीरोइन का रिलेशनशिप है, हीरो और उसके फादर का रिलेशनशिप है, राइट. We need to identify the themes as well, the central ideas or issues around which the novel explores, such as is it love, is it identity, is it freedom, or is it justice. Themes are the backbone of any novel, Analyzing the writing style. Authors use specific literary techniques to enhance their storytelling. Examine the author's choice of words, tone, and his use of figurative languages like metaphor, simile, and symbolism. I hope you understand these. These are called figure of speeches, right? Metaphor is she is a rose. If I say she is a rose, वो एक गुलाब है. This is a metaphor. I'm comparing a girl to a rose. Okay. And if I'm writing she is like a rose, okay, then this is a simile. Many of you are often confused between metaphor and simile. If I use words like, as, okay, then these are simile. And if I compare it directly without using such terms like and as, it's a metaphor. Symbolism is like we use a pigeon for peace. Pigeon is often associated with peace. So these are symbols, standard symbols. Red is for anger. Okay. Now, point of view. Consider whether the story is from a first person, a third person, or omniscient person who is not present in the story. The narrative point of view, it shapes how readers perceive the story. अगर मैं बोल रही हूँ it was 12 o'clock in the morning and I saw a ghost, so you'll think that it's about the author. I will say she saw a ghost, it is about the third person and omniscient, and anyone, like no one is present in the story, a ghost appeared. Someone who's not known, omniscient, often we use it for God. Now dialogue is analyze how dialogues really reveal the character traits and relationships while advancing the plot. How the dialogues tell about the character, you can very much predict, because in novel you can't see anything, you can't see the facial expressions. It's the dialogue that tells you how the plot is going and how the characteristic of a particular person in that novel is, right? Now, engaging with themes and messages, we often find layers of meaning. For example, social commentary. Some novels critique societal norms or injustices. For example, Charles Dickens' Hard Times. It critiques industrialization and class disparities. Many of you might not have heard or read about this novel, but it's just for an example that चार्ल्स डिकन की नॉवल इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन और क्लास डिस्पैरिटी के बारे में बता दिया. फिलोसफिकल आइडियाज भी देती है नॉवेल्स सच एज हरमैन हजीज सिद्धार्था. इट एक्सप्लोर्स द स्पिरिचुअल themes. Okay, so these are just many novels, they try to connect it with society and philosophy. Okay, you should know a little bit about it. Considering the historical and cultural context is, we the historical context, oh, I'm so sorry. uh, 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 yeah, so considering the historical and cultural context, understand the time period in which the novel was written. It's very important. Like if you consider Odyssey, it's very famous novel. So अगर हम ओडिसी को देखेंगे, सो यू विल फाइंड कि वो बहुत पहले लिखी गई है. यू माइट नॉट रिलेट टू थिंग्स कि ऐसे वॉयजेस हो रही हैं, सूटर्स एक मैरिड वुमेन का हाथ लेने आ रहे हैं, बट you need to understand and judge a novel without considering the time's constraints. Historical events, cultural movements, and the prevailing ideologies, they influence the author's perspective. Obviously, if I write about something today, I'll be influenced by what is happening in my society and in my surroundings, right? Now, the author's intents are a must in a novel. Okay, so it depends upon authors how does he want to portray his novel as. Research the author's background, beliefs, and experiences. It can provide insight into novels' themes and narrative choices. Now, this is a very debatable topic, People are always debating about it कि क्या author का intent मैटर करता है या नहीं. बिकॉज मे बी मैं मेरा बैकग्राउंड बहुत ही अच्छा रहा हो, लेकिन मैं एक ट्रोमैटिक नॉवल के बारे में लिख रही हूँ. ओके, बट वी जनरली एज लिटरेचर स्टूडेंट्स आई वुड से कि वी शुड कंसिडर दिस पॉइंट एज वेल कि ऑथर का बैकग्राउंड कहीं ना कहीं in some way or the other it is reflected in the way they write. I won't say it completely reflects, but it does reflect. Okay, it provides insight into novel's theme, because generally Generally, on major cases, you will find if an author has suffered a lot, his novels would be about suffering. He won't be able to write happy novels that good. He may be able to, there are always exceptions, but on a higher level of note, we can say that point is relevant. Now, active reading strategy. What does this mean? It basically means to extract the most from a novel, adopt active reading techniques. Okay, while reading any novel, we should annotate the most important passages, we should take notes and jot down questions as we read. We should reflect on characters' motivations, the significance of events, and the implications of ending. We should revisit and reflect. Why do we need to revisit? Maybe उसने chapter 1 में कुछ बोला हो और वहीं वही चीज़ chapter 10 में आ रही हो. Then we should revisit that. Is it the opinion we formed of that character? Is it still valid, or has it changed? Connecting with the reader's perspective. Reading a novel is a personal experience. The reader's own beliefs, experiences, and emotions it influence the interpretation of text. Engaging with others through discussions or essays, they can often offer us fresh perspectives. Like sometimes it happens, maybe हमारी novel की reading is like, maybe like we find out Jane Austen is very nice author. Like in our century we find that Colin Hoover is very overrated. Some of us feel that, but on the other hand, some of our like big fans of Colin Hoover. So through discussions we can come to a mutual consensus, right? So novel as a reflection of society. Novel often serves as mirrors to society, portraying its values, struggles, and complexities. Authors draw inspiration from social, cultural, and political milieu of their times, making novels a valuable resource for understanding history and human behavior. But the history ki books may be manipulated, but novels can never be. Because an author has the free will to write whatever he wishes to. Even if he is forced not to write against a particular community, his values and the opinions would flow freely through somewhere or other. He may change the caste of someone, but he would actually depict how the people were in that time. It's the representation of social issues, economic inequalities. Novels like John Steinbeck's The Grape of Wrath, Wrath is anger. It highlights the struggle of the working class during the Great Depression, the gender roles. Works such as Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway critic the limitations placed on women in patriarchal societies. Virginia Woolf is also a famous author. Her novel, Mrs. Dalloway, it critiques how were women limited in that patriarch-based societies, the caste and class systems. Novels like Mulk Raj Anand's Untouchable, they shed light on the plight of marginalized communities. Right. Now, historical and political context, the colonialism and independence. In Indian literature, novels like Raja Rao's Kantaputra, they explore the social, political impact of British rule and the Indian independence movement, right? War and conflict. Novels like Erich Maria Remarks All Quiet on the Western Front depict the horrors of war and its psychological toll on individuals. The cultural identity and tradition, exploration of cultural practices. Okay, so these are examples. मैं ये नहीं बोल रही, you need to remember each example for exam. Try to remember just 2 to 3 novels so that at least examiner को लगे कि बच्चे ने कुछ रिसर्च की है, केवल नॉवल के बारे में नहीं लिख के आ गया. एटलीस्ट उसने 2 3 नॉवल या तो पढ़ी हैं, वो बता रहा है कि कैसे ऑल क्वाइट वेस्टर्न इट डिपिक्ट्स द हॉरर्स ऑफ वॉर, इट्स साइकोलॉजिकल टोल ऑन इंडिविजुअल्स. ठीक है, ऐसी कल्चरल प्रैक्टिस के लिए है, मॉडर्नाइजेशन के लिए इट्स आर के नारायण's द गाइड. यू कैन रिमेंबर एनी 2 3 नेम्स दैट यू फाइंड कंफर्टेबल. इंडिविजुअल वर्सेस सोसाइटी. ठीक है, these there are another novels. ठीक है, it's the Scarlet Letter by Nathan Haworth. It's These are very complex names. Actually, I had written because these were like the very, ये novels बहुत relevant है इस themes के. ठीक है, so if you can remember these names, well and good. नहीं तो at least try remembering 3 to 2 names so that you can quote them in your exams. Now, the important point is role of the novel in social reform. Now, it is a catalyst for change. Catalyst is a term that has derived from केमिस्ट्री, कैटलिस्ट क्या करता है, किसी भी चीज़ को प्रमोट करता है, या तो वो प्रमोट करता है या डिप्रिशिएट करता है, बट यहाँ हम कैटलिस्ट को प्रमोट के वे में यूज़ कर रहे हैं. Novels have historically played a role in inspiring social reform. Harriet Beecher Stowe uncle, so his novel name is important. It is credited with influencing attitude towards slavery in United States. Empowerment through representation by giving voice to underrepresented communities. Novels help us foster empathy and understanding. Reflection of everyday life. Realist novels like George Eliot's Middlemarch, it can provide a detailed portrayal of everyday life, making them relatable and thought-provoking. Capturing human emotions, novels excel in depicting the complexity of human emotions from love and joy to grief and despair. Like George Eliot's Mid-March, they provide a detailed portrayal of everyday life. Okay, very important points I would say. Author का और रीडर का सोसाइटी का कनेक्शन. नो द रिलेशन इज वेरी डायनेमिक, यू नो. ऑथर क्या करता है, ही राइट्स टू कन्वे मैसेज, provoke thought, or entertain. Their work is influenced by their personal experiences and society's context. Reader की interpretation, he brings their own perspective to text, finding messages that may align with or diverge from author's intentions. We don't look कि author ने क्या सोच के लिखा होगा when we read a novel. मतलब we should do it in a way, but we don't generally do it. We try to find our own perspective to text, and it can may align, it may not align with the author's original intent, right? So, societal influence. A novel can shape both. A novel is shaped both by society in which it is created. ठीक है? So, ये shape, it is originally shaped by the society in which it is created, and it definitely shapes the society which it creates. There is a very famous word known as utopia. That means a thing that is non-existent. So basically, a novel can create a society that is utopic, not existent, and it is also created by the society. Okay, what is the conclusion? To read a novel effectively, one must engage with its literary elements, socio-cultural context, and personal significance. Novels, they are not just stories. Okay, many people think, "Are story book hi to padh rahe ho?" It's not just story. It's a reflection of society, capturing its values, conflicts, and transformations. By reading critically and contextually, readers can gain a deeper understanding of both the text and the world it represents. So, what have we learned so far? How do we read a novel? Why, how do we read a novel, and why should we read a novel? It's not just a waste of time, it's not just reading out of the world. It is a true reflection of society, the values it holds, the transformations over the centuries it has led to. Okay, so this was the first unit of VAC. I'll soon be coming up with the second video. Till then, stay updated, stay subscribed. I wish you all the very best.